In the video Basics of Nutrition, I mentioned that there are three macro meaning large or larger nutrients in our food. These are carbohydrates, fats and proteins. All of them are hydrocarbons, meaning that they have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and in the case of proteins, nitrogen also. The word protein comes from the Greek word protos. Here we are back with the Greeks again. Protos means to come first or primary, which means that the Greeks realized that protein is the primary backbone of any living organism. In fact, your bacteria, viruses are nothing but proteins. So proteins form the backbone of all life because they provide the structure of the cells of all living tissue. Apart from water, proteins form the major part of body tissue. In fact, 17% of your body weight comes from proteins. So what are proteins? Proteins are amino acids which have been joined together in long chains known as peptides. When two amino acids come together, this is known as a dipeptide. For three, it is known as a tripeptide. For several, it is known as a polypeptide, and for too many, the word is oligopeptide. So these amino acids are joined together to form proteins. There is a common basic structure in all amino acids, in that there is a central carbon backbone which is joined by four things. One, an amino group, hence they are known as amino acids. Two, an acid group, that's why they are classified as acids. Three, hydrogen. And fourth is a side chain. The side chain is very important because this gives the form and structure to the amino acid and also its uniqueness, and it also gives the amino acid its name. There are 20 known amino acids which form all of the proteins that we know. 11 of these amino acids are known as non-essential. Non-essential because the body can synthesize these amino acids on its own, taking different components from different places. But 9 amino acids are known as essential amino acids. Essential because these the body cannot synthesize and therefore these must come from diet alone. What are the sources of proteins in diet? Proteins can come from either animal products when they are known as animal proteins, or from plant products when they are known as plant proteins. Animal proteins could be meat, fish, eggs, cheese, because milk and all further processed dairy products are classified as animal products. They are coming from animal sources. Plant sources of proteins could be beans, legumes, mostly beans and legumes, and nuts, though sometimes some fruits and vegetables can also contain some proteins. However, what you should keep in mind is that animal proteins are known as complete proteins because they contain all the 9 essential proteins, whereas plant proteins are known as incomplete proteins because at least one of the 9 amino acid required is short. This amino acid is then known as the limiting amino acid. Another thing also important is that the bioabsorption or the absorption of the proteins from animal sources is 90 to 100% within the body, whereas plant proteins can at best be absorbed at about 70%. When you consume food, proteins start getting digested in the stomach itself by a protease known as pepsin. Now, to prevent the pepsin from digesting the stomach itself, it is stored in the form known as pepsinogen. But once you consume food, pepsinogen is converted into pepsin and used to break the polypeptides into the dipeptides, tripeptides and some polypeptides. Then it is sent further into the intestine, where the intestine helps break the proteins into its component amino acids before it can be sent into the bloodstream. From there to the liver. The liver repackages all the amino acids into whatever are the desired proteins in the body, and then the liver sends them into the bloodstream. Now, what are the functions of proteins in the body? Proteins, as I said, give structural support to the cells. Proteins like collagen, actin, myosin give support to the structure of the cell and give us our form and shape, so to say. The proteins albumin and globulin maintain the fluid balance between the blood and in the interstitial spaces between the cells and the blood, thereby maintaining our water balance. Proteins within the cell walls pump ions in and out of the cells, thereby helping us to maintain our pH level between the base alkali and acid. Amino acids are required in the synthesis of so many hormones, enzymes and neurotransmitters used all over in the body. Many proteins like hemoglobin and lipoproteins, you do your blood tests and find out your lipoproteins, LDL, HDL, VLDL, these kind of lipoproteins. So these proteins, hemoglobin and these lipoproteins act as transporters of nutrients in the blood. When required, even glucose can be made from proteins by a process called gluconeogenesis, though this is very sparingly used when carbohydrate consumption may be zero or you are going through a process of starvation or hunger. As I have said many times, conversion of energy from proteins is a process which is not very cost effective. It utilizes a lot of energy on its own and therefore is not something that the body prefers to do. Though in rare cases, if required, proteins can be used to create energy as well. Now let us look at the very important question of what is the best amount of protein to be consumed during a day. I look at macronutrient ratios as a whole when I look at food. So I try to keep my protein as 1 and carbohydrate as 0.5 or half of that, and fat intake at 3 to 3.5 times of protein, which means that my ratio is carbohydrate 0.5, protein 1 and fat 3 to 3.5. This is because I consume a very low carb, high fat diet. Yours may be slightly different, but look at it another way. What I would say is measure your height in centimeters, deduct 100, and that number, whatever, is the ideal weight of any person in kgs. Say in my case, I am 173 centimeters, so if I deduct 100, my ideal weight is 73 kilos. So my ideal consumption of protein should be 73 grams, that's 1. Now if I am a very sedentary person, then that 73 grams could even be 60, or if I am a very active sports person or doing some bodybuilding, weightlifting, extreme exercise, then 73 could also come up to 100, 110. But no case it should be more than 1.25 or less than 0.8. That's how I do my working, and from proteins then I can deduce how much carbohydrate, how much fat to be consumed. You can do your own calculations based on the best macronutrient ratio suitable to you, but this is the way I eat. I hope that this video has been of some value and you have learned something. Hope you have enjoyed. Thank you so much, and do keep watching us, share and subscribe, like our channel. Thank you very much.